All right, guys, Macro Monday. I thought we'd do a balance sheet. Honestly, I'd be surprised if the College Board gave you guys a balance sheet on this new alternative test this year. And the reason being is I just think it'd be really easy to cheat on. So I think they probably stay away from them. But let's cover our bases because the college every year I try and predict stuff and they always surprise me. So. This is 2012. So remember, you just go to Google, just put in AP Macro FRQ. You could even put in 2012 AP Macro FRQ. It should take you right to this. Click on the PDF or on the second question. It's this balance sheet here. So go ahead and do that. Do that Google search. Go there. Go to the 2012. Go ahead and do it. Pause the video. And then I'm going to go over it. Okay, so number 2 says the following is a simplified balance sheet for Mi Tierra Bank in the United States. And then they're showing us the assets and liabilities, the balance sheet. What is the reserve requirement? Okay, so how do we get that? Well, required reserves is 10,000, demand deposits 100,000. So this is what there is in checking accounts. 10,000 is 10% of 100,000, so the reserve requirement is 10%. Assume that Luis withdraws $5,000 in cash from his checking account at Mi Tierra Bank. By how much will Mi Tierra Bank's reserves change based on Luis's withdrawal? And by the way, I know you guys have done this one a couple of times, but again, it doesn't hurt to repeat these. Okay, well, reserves is both required and excess. So they're asking, like, how much is this? These reserves going to change based on this guy took $5,000 out of his checking account. Well, it's a balance sheet. So if you take $5,000 from your liability side, you got to take $5,000 from your asset side. All right. So the reserves will decrease by $5,000. What is the initial effect of the withdrawal on the M1 measure of the money supply? All right, what is M1 money? It is cash, it is checking accounts, it is traveler's checks, right? So this guy took his checking account money and he made it cash. It is still M1 money, so there is no change. You got to explain that, though. You'd say there's been no change to the M1 measure of the money supply because demand deposits is M1 money and now cash, which this guy has, is M1 money. As a result of the withdrawal, what is the new value of excess reserves on the balance sheet of Mi Tierra Bank based on the reserve requirement from Part A? This is the kind of the tricky part, right? Guy took $5,000 out, so this becomes $95,000. Well, now you need $95,000 over here, right? Well, what is this all going to look like? Loans isn't going to be touched, all right? This is not going to be touched. I'm initially going to take the $5,000 from here, and I'm going to make it 0, all right? But if this is 95,000, I don't need 10,000 here. I need 9,500. So there's an extra 500. That extra 500 is going to go down here. The new value of your excess reserves is going to be 500. I know I just explained that orally and you kind of didn't see it. I hope you understood it. Try and work it out. All right. Let me know if you have questions. Assume the next day John withdraws from Mi Tierra Bank an amount that exceeds the bank's excess reserves. Assuming that no loans are called in other words, they can't go to their borrowers and say, hey, we need money, so you need to pay us this money quickly. Banks really can't do that. How can Mi Tierra Bank cover its required reserves? They don't have enough money to cover the required reserves. Well, where do banks get money? They get money from the Federal Reserve. So they can go borrow money from the Federal Reserve, or they can go borrow money from other banks. That's called the federal funds rate. All right. So they can borrow from other banks. They can borrow from the Federal Reserve. All right. Hope that was helpful. That's it for today.